The Global Tech Innovation Summit pulsed with feverish energy, a labyrinth of shimmering booths and glowing screens. At its heart stood Julian, 35, a man of quiet intensity. His ebony skin contrasted with the stark white displays, his dark, meticulously styled hair hinting at the precision of his mind. In his hand, he clutched a sleek tablet displaying the final draft of a groundbreaking partnership contract for Lumina Tech, his pioneering renewable energy software firm. This deal, with the colossal OmniCorp Global, promised to scale Lumina's innovative solutions across continents, reshaping global energy consumption. Julian's deep brown eyes, sharp and focused, scanned the digital signatures. The contract was more than data. It was a bridge to a sustainable future, a culmination of years of relentless dedication. A slight impatience stirred as he glanced at his watch. 3:30 p.m. His co-founder and wife, Sophia, was due any minute. He adjusted his stance, his presence a quiet anchor in the expo's controlled chaos. Julian's presence drew curious glances. His brilliance radiated from him, a strength forged through years of navigating spaces where his race and groundbreaking ideas were often questioned. He was no mere attendee, he was a disruptor, his algorithms fueling Lumina's rapid ascent. The contract in his hand was his latest triumph, a testament to his innovation. Ever been on the verge of a breakthrough, only to face unexpected resistance? A sudden shift in the air pricked his senses like the first glitch in a complex system. Two figures emerged from the sleek pathways. Derek, a white man with slicked, back blonde hair and an arrogant stride, and Veronica, his partner, draped in a crimson power suit. Their pale blue and sharp green eyes glittered with predatory disdain as they scanned Julian. They were the supposed lead negotiators for OmniCorp Global. Veronica's gaze locked onto Julian, her lips twisting into a smirk. "Who's this?" she said, her voice a blade wrapped in silk. "The intern sent to fetch us. Where's Sophia?" "We don't have time for delays," Derek chuckled. "Probably some diversity hire from the junior dev pool," he muttered. "Didn't your last little startup even make it past seed funding, Julian?" Julian's grip tightened on the tablet, his face a mask of serenity. His pulse quickened, but he held it at bay. "I'm here for the Lumina Tech partnership," he said, his voice smooth and firm. "Sophia will join us shortly." Derek's laugh shattered the moment. "You handling a deal this big?" He stepped closer. "Kid, this isn't the place for you. Run along and queue us up some coffee. Leave the real negotiations to the professionals." Veronica folded her arms, her grin widening. "Yeah, this is a multi-billion-dollar table," she said. "No offense, but your resume simply doesn't scream major player for this level of intellectual property. Especially not Lumina's core AI algorithms, which OmniCorp has its own plans for." The words were arrows aimed to pierce, revealing a deeper, insidious agenda. Julian's heart thudded, but he stood taller. "I'm exactly where I belong," he replied, his voice low but resonant, a quiet defiance. He waited, his silence a storm gathering strength. The expo's pulse seemed to fade as the air around Julian crackled with human venom. He stood resolute, his ebony skin luminous, his dark hair a steady frame. The secure tablet in his hand was a silent anchor as Veronica's mocking laugh sliced through the din. Julian was a fortress of grace, his deep brown eyes fierce and unyielding. Veronica's sleek platinum blonde hair gleamed like a crown of ice as she leaned forward. "Oh, darling, you're out of your depth," she said. "This is a multi-billion-dollar table, not some diversity photo op." Her lips curled into a smirk. Derek leaned into Veronica's cruelty. "No offense," he said, "but you don't look like you belong here. What are you, some project manager playing dress-up?" "We know all about Lumina's true valuation without its core, P." The insult landed like a stone, revealing their deeper game. Julian's pulse quickened, but his face remained a still mask. He could feel the eyes of nearby tech enthusiasts, sensing the tension. "I'm the CEO and lead innovator for Lumina Tech," Julian said, his voice low but resonant. "And I'm waiting for Sophia, my co-founder and legal counsel." Veronica's laugh was a shard of glass. "Legal counsel? What, some patent clerk? Oh, honey, you're reaching. Why don't you scurry back to your garage startup and leave the real work to us?" Derek's grin widened. "Yeah, this deal's too big for someone like you. Stick to open source coding. That's more your speed." He waved a hand dismissively. The words stung, but Julian stood taller, his gaze unwavering. His heart was a furnace, burning with a fire they couldn't touch. He chose restraint. His silence was a weapon honed by years of navigating spaces where his brilliance was questioned. Veronica's eyes flicked to the tablet, her smirk faltering. "Security." She called to a nearby convention guard. "This man's disrupting our negotiations. Get him out before he causes a scene." The guard, burly in his crisp uniform, shifted uneasily, caught between Veronica's demand and Julian's quiet authority. Julian's gaze held Veronica's, then Derek's, unflinching. "You don't decide where I belong," Julian said, his voice soft but unyielding. Veronica's smirk wavered. Derek's grin faltered. "You're out of your league." He hissed, "This world isn't for you. Not when we're about to invalidate Lumina's core patents with our own OmniCorp IP." Julian's heart thundered, but his face remained serene. He waited, his silence a gathering thunderhead. A low hum sliced through the tension, the glide of an autonomous transport drone pulling up beside them. The drone's door slid open, and Sophia emerged, 33, her tall frame commanding the space. Her fair skin glowed, her blonde hair swept back, her blue eyes blazing. Her tailored cream suit hugged her sharp shoulders. The enthusiasts straightened, the guard froze, and Veronica's smirk faltered as Sophia strode forward. "What's going on here?" Sophia's voice was a controlled storm, low and resonant. Her eyes swept from Veronica's flushed face to Derek's faltering grin, then softened as they found Julian. The tablet in his hand felt lighter. Veronica's composure cracked. "Sophia," she said, her voice syrupy with false charm, "just a misunderstanding." "We thought he was," Derek stammered. "We assumed he was some junior associate. No harm meant. Just discussing the OmniCorp patent application for a competing AI, you know." Sophia stepped beside Julian. "This is Julian," she said, her voice steel. "My husband, the CEO and lead innovator for Lumina Tech. And as for OmniCorp's competing patent," she continued, pulling a smaller, identical tablet from her clutch, its screen projected onto the nearest booth. "It seems you two have been operating under a grave misunderstanding. Or, more accurately, a deliberate deception." The projection displayed an internal OmniCorp memo. This memo, dated yesterday, confirms that your roles as lead negotiators for OmniCorp were terminated hours ago following an internal investigation into your attempts to fraudulently claim Lumina's proprietary AI algorithms as your own, under the guise of an OmniCorp patent to derail this very deal. The declaration landed like a bomb. Veronica's face drained of color, her phone slipping. Derek's bravado crumbled. The expo seemed to hold its breath. Sophia's gaze didn't waver. "These two are interfering with a legitimate OmniCorp agreement and attempting corporate espionage. They are leaving now." The guard nodded, stepping forward. Suddenly, a well-dressed senior OmniCorp executive approached. "Miss Hayes is correct," he boomed. "Mr. Vance and Miss Thorne were indeed attempting to misrepresent OmniCorp and steal intellectual property." On behalf of OmniCorp Global, I apologize for their conduct and confirm our absolute commitment to the Lumina partnership. In fact, he added, looking at Julian, in light of their egregious breach and Lumina's proven integrity, we're prepared to amend the terms of the agreement to include an accelerated integration schedule and a more favorable revenue share for your core AI innovations. Consider it a testament to Lumina's true value, revealed under pressure. Derek's panic flared. You can't do this. That's our patent application, he spluttered. Veronica clutched his arm. He's just some token hire. She spat, her eyes wild with indignation, but the words sounded hollow. Julian stepped forward, his voice calm but resonant. I was standing here as the man whose vision powered Lumina's sustainability initiatives, the man who coded the algorithms you tried to steal, the man who built this from a garage into a global force while you curated your boardroom power plays. You don't decide my place, and you certainly don't own my innovation. The guard gestured toward the exit and Derek's shoulders slumped. Veronica's protests faded into a high-pitched whine as she was led away, their names now synonymous with scandal. Julian turned to Sophia, his expression softening. You're always right on time, he murmured. Sophia squeezed his fingers, her smile radiant, the tablet still in his grip, now a symbol of their double triumph. The Global Tech Innovation Summit's pulse resumed. Julian stood, his ebony skin catching the last gleam of the stage lights. The secure tablet in his hand felt lighter, not from defeat, but from triumph. He was a vision of resilience, his presence glowing. His deep brown eyes, alight with quiet fire, gazed toward the exit where Derek and Veronica had vanished, their pride shattered. Their protests were drowned by the expo's indifferent hum. Julian's heart thrummed with clarity. He had faced their venom and emerged ascendant. The contract was no longer just a deal. It was a symbol of his agency, a testament to the empire he'd helped forge and the integrity that had proven its worth. Sophia stood beside him, her tall frame a quiet anchor, her blue eyes softened. You didn't need me to fight that battle, not really, she murmured. Julian squeezed her fingers, his smile a radiant sunrise. I fought for us, he said, his tone soft but unyielding. The moment was theirs, a victory carved from their shared resolve. Julian's poise, amplified by Sophia's strategic revelation, had turned the tide. The expo's clamor seemed to applaud him. As the final light bled from the expo floor, the weight of the confrontation settled. Derek and Veronica, desperate to salvage their dignity, tried to rally support, but the leaked memo, the executive's public denouncement, and Julian's immediate signing of the amended contract left them with nothing, their reputation reduced to ashes. Back at Lumina Tech's headquarters, Julian's role expanded as a global advocate for ethical AI and inclusive innovation. His office, a sleek space of glass and steel, buzzed with new proposals. His desk, adorned with a single bonsai tree, hummed with possibility. Colleagues once skeptical now sought his counsel. The summit confrontation had become legend, a story of a man who'd turned prejudice and attempted theft into power. Julian's deep brown eyes reflected a future he was building. The memory of the expo lingered not as a wound but as a forge where his resolve had been tempered. Derek and Veronica's downfall was a cautionary tale, their careers reduced to a footnote in Lumina Tech's meteoric ascent. Julian stood at his window, the city skyline glittering, a canvas of ambition. The contract, the confrontation, the twist, the triumphant amendment, all were steps in a journey that had revealed his strength. He was not defined by their scorn, but by the fire within him. The cityscape shimmered like a constellation of ambition. Julian stood on the balcony of their penthouse, high above the city's restless pulse, his ebony skin radiant under the moon's soft glow. His dark hair flowed freely, catching the silver light. At 35, he was a vision of grace and power. The expo's electric clamor was a distant memory, replaced by a clarity that burned within him. The multi-billion-dollar Lumina OmniCorp contract was now a cornerstone of his legacy. He had stood at the summit, his voice cutting through venom, his poise a shield against Derek and Veronica's scorn. The executive's public statement had fallen, their careers reduced to ash, but this night was about him, a man who had claimed his place. His deep brown eyes shone with determination, each light a story. Each story a spark of possibility he would ignite. Sophia stepped onto the balcony, her tall frame, quiet shadow. At 33, she was a study in contrasts, her fair skin glowing, her blonde hair swept back, her blue eyes warm. She slipped an arm around Julian's waist, her touch a steady pulse. "You didn't need me to fight that battle. Not really," Sophia said, her voice soft. Her words were about him, the fire he carried, the strength that had turned a moment of prejudice and betrayal into a monument of triumph. Julian leaned into her, his smile a sunrise. "I fought for me," he said, "and for every innovator who's ever been underestimated because of who they are or where they came from." His voice was quiet but resonant, a vow etched into the city's pulse. The penthouse balcony was their sanctuary. Julian's hand rested on the cool metal as he reflected. The expo had been a crucible, but this moment was his canvas. Lumina Tech was a movement. His sustainable AI initiatives were his legacy. His office buzzed with new proposals. He turned to Sophia, their eyes meeting, a silent conversation passing between them. Their bond was a partnership forged in shared purpose. Sophia's hand tightened around his waist. "You're unstoppable," she said. Julian's laughter mingled with the city's hum. "I'm just beginning," he said, his eyes sparkling. He saw it clearly, a world where his voice, his vision would shape industries and inspire change. He imagined boardrooms where his strategies would silence skeptics, communities his initiatives would light homes, and young innovators who would see his story and know they too could rise. The confrontation, the exposed betrayal, the triumphant renegotiation, all were stepping stones to this moment where he stood as a creator of his destiny. The night air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain. Julian's hair flowed, his presence a beacon against the skyline. He was no longer just Sophia's husband nor Lumina Tech's CEO. He was Julian, a force rewriting the world on his terms. The city below pulsed with life, its lights a constellation of possibilities. He glanced at Sophia, her warmth grounding him, her love setting him free. The balcony stretched before them, a stage for their shared future. Julian's heart, once tested by scorn, now beat with purpose. The skyline glittered, a canvas of ambition, and he knew this was no ending but a beginning, a life where his strength, his love, and his vision would carve a legacy that echoed beyond the stars. He stood taller, his hand in Sophia's, his eyes fixed on the horizon, ready to claim the world that awaited him. What a journey Julian's story has been. Did his unyielding strength at the summit inspire you, or did Derek and Veronica's exposed betrayal and downfall leave you wowed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear how this tale of resilience, ingenuity, and justice moved you. A huge thank you for joining us on this emotional ride, for letting Julian's light spark something in your heart. If his story resonated, share it with someone who needs a dose of courage. Subscribe and hit the bell to catch our next tale of triumph and transformation. Where are you watching from? Let us know below. Until next time, keep chasing your own horizon, and we'll see you in the next.